drones. You've seen one, flown one, or want one. But very few people know how to get movie quality shots out of these very capable tools. So today I'm going to teach you how. Drones honestly have to be my favorite tool that have ever been introduced into filmmaking and photography. I first started flying drones like 6 years ago now, back when no one had even heard of drones. And over the last few years, they have gotten so common and so amazingly advanced, it's incredible. But what's crazy to me is as technology's advanced, as the cameras have gotten better, people just haven't gotten any better at capturing content with it. Pretty much the exact same shots I was getting 6 years ago, people still are missing now. And I don't even really consider what I do that amazing with drones, but some of my drone videos on YouTube have over 5 million views each. I get hit up every single day by companies wanting to buy my drone clips for thousands of dollars. Even my friends show me their drone footage and I'm just like, why doesn't it look right? So I figured if people are having a hard time achieving cinematic drone shots, I will tell you exactly how I do it. So I've come up with my 7 secrets to achieving cinematic drone shots. Let's begin. The first step to achieving cinematic drone shots is very simple. Lock your freaking exposure. This little button you see right here on the screen is the auto exposure lock. Do you see how in this clip the color and lighting are constantly changing and it kind of bugs you? That's because the exposure wasn't locked. In this shot, it doesn't do that. Now, the simplest way to achieve this is just point your camera at the brightest part of the image, the part you want to land on. Click auto exposure lock so that it's set, and then do your camera shot. Movie cameras don't change exposure like that, iPhones do. So by removing that, you're actually getting one huge step closer to movie quality footage. Tip number 2 was very clear to me, but as I told my friends about it, they had never even thought about it. A lot of the drones now are actually able to shoot higher frame rates so you can do slow motion. So people are just flying around the skies super fast and wondering why their stuff doesn't look like a movie. I never shoot slow motion in a drone. I shoot 24 frames a second, which is the film standard. And what I do, and I think absolutely everyone should do, put music in your ears that is going to be the same type of pacing as the project you're trying to create. So since I tend to go cinematic, I put on a nice film score and I fly the drone at the speed that it should look. I use my screen and I pretend I'm watching a movie, but don't ever expect your footage to look different than it looks on your actual screen. Tip 3, super easy, don't use auto flight modes. All of the modes that like orbit something and keep it in the center and all that, by using auto flight modes, it might help you in the beginning, but you're actually robbing yourself of being able to achieve those same results yourself. Instead of holding the sticks of a drone controller, I use the sides of my fat thumbs and I just put pressure like that. I just slowly squeeze either side and I just push my thumb down so it moves the stick over, and I do that ever so slightly. And that's how I'm able to keep shots that aren't jerky. If you're using your fingers, you're going to be tempted to move it and correct it. When you're using a pressure system like the side of your thumb, all you can do is give more or less pressure. And by easing into it, it creates really smooth movement. So auto flight mode, try not to do it. Treat your drone like a video game and then do the next step. I could probably get in a lot of trouble for saying step number 4, but you have to put your drone into danger to get the really cool shots. Just don't put people into danger. In example, these shots that I was able to get on my drone, the only reason they look so cool is the drone is extremely close to everything moving past the blades. A drone lens is very wide, so to be able to get that cool moving through things effect, you actually have to be very close to what you're flying near. But by putting your drone into danger, you're actually creating drama of its own. So the drone shots that really affect people the most are the ones that are dramatic. So never try to put the drone into danger when it's like people on a ledge or something, but if you're out in the wilderness and there's a tree, what's the worst that happens? Your drone hits the tree, the blades break off, and for like 20 bucks you get new blades. Try to get the really cool shot. It essentially boils down to the shots that other people aren't willing to try to get and you end up getting are going to be the ones that stand out from everyone else, obviously. Tip 5 is something that's super easy, but not that obvious. Look around you and use things to conceal and reveal your actual image. If you're at the beach flying, instead of going way up into the sky and just looking at a beach with no reference of movement, get down lower, find some palm trees and move behind them so that the moving of the palm trees and the beach behind it is very pleasing to the eye. By interacting with your environment every single time you turn your drone on, it keeps it fresh. You'll never run out of drone ideas because everywhere you go will offer a new way to show something. So remember, your audience wants to be shown things rather than just look at them. Reveal and conceal. Now, tip number 6 is the biggest tip, the number 1 reason people are not achieving cinematic drone shots. 100% listen up. This is the entire reason I made this video, was this one point. It has nothing to do with your ability to fly the drone. It has to do with your knowledge of actual film movements. There are 8 defined camera movements that I use with my drone that I also use in normal cinema. This is nothing new for a drone. This is how people have been shooting movies for years, but when you bring it over to a drone, boom, it's cinematic. I've gone out and I've shot examples of each of these shots so that if you don't know what they are, now would be a good time to like get a pencil, do something, and take note of these type of movements. The first camera movement is a dolly in or a dolly out. On a drone, this is called flying forwards or backwards, but the act of moving towards or away from something is movement number 1. The next really popular drone shot is an orbit. If there's a boat here and you're flying around it in a circle, but keeping the camera on the boat, that is an orbit. Really nice way of showing the surroundings while still keeping focus on one character or one thing in particular. The third shot I typically don't do a ton on drones, but it's called a pan. And it's basically keeping the camera stationary or the drone and just turning it. Good way to show where you are. It's kind of boring to me, so I don't use it a lot. However, the next shot I use all the time. The next camera movement is called a tracking shot. And this is moving side to side. Tracking and dollying are the 2 most common film movements in the world. The next camera move I call the elevator shot. I don't know the exact word for it, but it's just when the camera stays pointing one way and you go up and down. On a drone, that would just be going higher, going lower. The next type of camera shot you can do is a bird's eye, which is pointing straight down from the drone, so just looking down like a bird would be flying. The next cinematic camera move can actually be a great way to reveal or conceal things, and it's a crane up or crane down. I love using crane type movements when I come over the top of a mountain to reveal like an ocean down below. And then the last and super basic is just a tilt up, just using the camera looking down and tilting up without any movement. There's actually one more cinematic shot you can get called a zoom, which is just literally what I said, just zooming in without actually moving the camera. I don't use that a ton on the drone, but here's where it gets really interesting. So all of the traditional camera movements I just told you about can be used together to make different types of shots. For example, one of the most creative ways of using a drone that I like is by flying forwards while zooming out, and it creates this weird effect that is quite similar to a zolly or a zoom dolly back shot. It's a movie thing. It looks like this. I cannot stress enough how important it is that you understand and fundamentally know those camera movement techniques. All of filmmaking is based off those movements. Learn them. It'll make your stuff look more professional like today. But the 7th and final tip to achieving real cinematic drone footage comes down to stop flying your drone while filming. And if you don't understand what I mean, do not hit record, take off, fly around and film a ton, and then come back and hit stop record. That is the quickest way to not have cinematic drone shots. The reason cinematic shots are cinematic is because they're planned. That's why movie shots work, is because they've been carefully planned and then executed. So now you have to start doing the same thing when you're flying your drone. Take a look, analyze where you are, figure out the type of shot you want to capture, get your drone into position, hit start record, execute the shot you want, and then stop recording. When you stop flying your drone and you start using it as a camera that you don't have to hold, and you plan your shots and you think about what you want to do and then you execute them, well, that's how your drone shots come alive. But the most important thing is just get out there and fly. Find somewhere there's not a ton of people and just start experimenting. Do not be afraid of your drone. We've dropped them in pools. We've hit them into cliffs. The only thing that ever breaks is just propellers, and you can replace them. Get out and start shooting. I want to thank the 5 million people that watch all of my drone stuff. It doesn't even make sense to me. I hope this video got recommended after this, because that would be awesome to be able to share this with everyone who actually likes drone stuff. And secondly, if this video helped you at all, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and feel free to subscribe. I make film, photography, camera, video related tutorials every single week, and I would love to have you here learning with me. So as always, I love you guys very much. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and never stop creating. That didn't work the same as the other times, but I love you guys. Peace.